Family only, Margaret, my mother-in-law, said with a smile that didn't reach her eyes, shutting the office door firmly in my face. I'm sure you understand, dear. I stood frozen in the hallway of Sullivan Industries headquarters, fists clenched at my sides. Through the frosted glass, I could see the silhouettes of my husband's family around the conference table, deep in their monthly business meeting, a meeting I wasn't allowed to attend, despite being married to their CEO's son for 3 years, despite holding an MBA, and despite my brief tenure as a consultant that doubled their shipping department's efficiency. But none of that mattered. I wasn't born a Sullivan. Don't take it personally, Kate. Thomas, my husband, said later that night, loosening his tie as he prepared for bed. It's just tradition. The business stays in the family. I am family, I murmured quietly. We're married. He flashed that patronizing smile I'd learned to detest. You know what I mean. Blood family. Besides, you've got your own consulting gigs to keep you busy. Consulting gigs? I echoed, fighting back the irritation. You mean the companies I help turn around while you're stuck clinging to outdated practices? The quarterly numbers are tough, I said, carefully studying his reflection in the mirror. The Asia-Pacific division looks especially bleak. His smile wavered, then stiffened. You've been reading confidential documents again? No, I said, my tone matter of fact. I read the public financial reports like any interested investor would. Your market share's slipping, your infrastructure is outdated, and your management structure is. He cut me off sharply, his voice cold. You don't know everything, Kate. The Sullivans have been running this business for 3 generations. We know what we're doing. I let the conversation die, though I knew better. Sullivan Industries was bleeding money, clinging to old systems while competitors nimbly surged ahead. But the family couldn't see it. They didn't want to. I was just the CEO's wife, the one they'd never take seriously. The next morning, I made a decision. I'm starting my own company, I said over breakfast. Thomas didn't even look up from his phone. That's nice, honey. What kind of company? Logistics and supply chain management consulting. That made him pause. He raised an eyebrow. You can't be serious. You're going to compete with Sullivan Industries? I took a deliberate sip of my coffee, savoring the discomfort in his tone. Not directly. I'll be helping smaller companies optimize their operations. Since I'm not family, what I do shouldn't concern the Sullivans, right? His frown deepened. Kate, I've already rented an office space. I continued. I've got my first client meeting this afternoon. Does your mother know about this? I smiled. Why would she? It's not a family matter. The office I'd rented was small but functional, located in a sleek modern building across town from Sullivan Industries' crumbling headquarters. I'd spent weeks preparing for this moment, building up my reputation, leveraging industry contacts, and securing meetings with potential clients. My first was Jiang Shipping, a rapidly rising force in the Asia-Pacific market, the same market where Sullivan Industries was struggling. Miss Harrison, Mr. Jiang, I greeted, extending my hand. Your reputation precedes you. Your work with Atlantic Freight was impressive. Thank you, Mr. Jiang replied, offering a warm smile. Please, call me Kate. By the end of the meeting, I'd secured my first major contract. Within 6 months, Phoenix Logistics was consulting for 3 of the fastest-growing shipping companies in Asia. Our innovative strategies and cutting-edge tech solutions were making waves in an industry that had long been stagnant. Meanwhile, Thomas grew more distant, spending more time at Sullivan Industries, lost in endless meetings with the family where they presumably discussed their fading dominance. You could help them, you know, Sophia, my best friend, said one day over lunch. Save the family business. I shook my head. They don't want my help. They made that clear. I paused, the gears in my mind turning, but maybe they'd accept help from someone else. That evening, I registered a new company, Avalon Partners, a private equity firm specializing in acquiring and revitalizing struggling logistics firms. I hid the ownership behind layers of shell corporations, careful to keep my intentions secret. As Phoenix Logistics grew, I quietly amassed Avalon's war chest. Every success, every breakthrough, brought me closer to my goal. Then, the call I'd been waiting for came. Sullivan Industries is looking for investors. My contact at Goldman Sachs informed me. They're bleeding cash. Word is, they'll consider any serious offer. A smile crept onto my face as I thought of all those closed doors, those family-only meetings. Set up a meeting, I said, leaning back in my chair, but use Avalon's lawyers. I don't want them to know who they're really dealing with. 2 weeks later, I sat in my office, reviewing Avalon Partners' formal offer to Sullivan Industries. The terms were generous, but there was one condition: complete management restructuring, the modernization of their systems, and fresh leadership in key roles. As I absorbed the details, my phone buzzed, an incoming text from Thomas: "Family emergency meeting tonight. Don't wait up." I could picture it clearly, the Sullivan family, huddled around their conference table, each one scrambling to figure out how their cherished empire had reached this point. "It's time to go," I said, glancing up from my screen. My assistant looked confused. "To Sullivan Industries? I thought your Avalon meeting wasn't until tomorrow." I smiled as I gathered my things. "It's not, but I've got a family meeting to crash." The security guard at Sullivan Industries greeted me with a nod as I entered. The building was quiet, most of the employees gone for the day, but the conference room door was aglow with light, the sound of raised voices seeping out. I took a steadying breath, adjusted my jacket, and pushed the door open. The room fell silent the moment I entered. All eyes turned toward me: Thomas, Margaret, Peter, James, their wives, everyone was there. Even old Gerald, the patriarch, sat at the head of the table, his steely gaze now fixed on me. "Kate," Thomas's voice was strained, "what are you doing here? This is a family meeting." "I know," I said coolly, striding to the head of the table across from Margaret, "and we have a lot to talk about." Margaret's voice was a sharp hiss. "How dare you? This is a private discussion about Avalon Partners' offer to buy controlling interest in Sullivan Industries." I set my briefcase on the table with deliberate calm. "Yes, I know all about that." Thomas frowned, his tone growing defensive. Have you been spying on us?" "No," I replied evenly. "I've been waiting for you to finally admit you need help." I slid a folder across the table. "And now, I'm here to offer it." Gerald's hands trembled slightly as he opened the folder. "What's this?" I smiled, leaning back slightly. "It's proof that I own Avalon Partners, and tomorrow, I'm going to make an offer to buy Sullivan Industries." The silence that followed felt suffocating. "This is absurd," Margaret sputtered, her voice shaking now. "You can't possibly have the resources to buy Sullivan Industries." I pulled another document from my briefcase and set it in front of her. "Phoenix Logistics made a profit of $40 million last year. Avalon Partners manages a $2 billion investment fund. Do you want to see the proof?" Peter, Thomas's older brother, snatched the paper from Margaret's hands. "These numbers can't be real." "And what exactly are you trying to say?" I tilted my head, meeting his gaze. "That I'm just a woman?" I interrupted smoothly. "An outsider? Someone who doesn't belong in your precious family meetings?" I leaned forward, locking eyes with each of them. "While you were busy clinging to outdated traditions, I was building something bigger than Sullivan Industries could ever become." Thomas's voice cracked with uncertainty. "Why are you doing this? To hurt us? To get revenge?" I softened my tone, though the edge still remained. "No, Thomas, I'm doing this to save the company you all claim to love so much." I spread the financial reports across the table. "You're 3 months from bankruptcy. Your Asia-Pacific division is losing money. Your technology is a decade behind. Your management structure is a mess." Gerald cleared his throat, his old voice rough. "And what exactly do you propose to do about it?" The room fell silent, every pair of eyes now focused on me. In his prime, Gerald had built Sullivan Industries from a regional player into a national powerhouse. But now, he was watching helplessly as his children ran it into the ground. "I propose," I said firmly, "to do exactly what I've been trying to do for 3 years: modernize your operations, streamline your management, and make Sullivan Industries competitive again." Margaret's tone was laced with venom. "By taking control from the family?" "No," I corrected her, "by saving it from the family." I opened my laptop and began a new presentation. "This is what Sullivan Industries could be. I've already implemented these systems at 3 of the fastest-growing shipping companies in Asia. Your competitors are evolving. You need to evolve, too." James, the youngest Sullivan son, spoke up, his voice dripping with skepticism. "And what if we refuse your offer?" "Then I'll let you go bankrupt," I replied coldly. "I'll buy the assets at auction for pennies on the dollar and implement my plans anyway." I met each of their gazes, steady and unwavering. "The only question is whether you want to be part of the solution, or part of the problem." Margaret stood abruptly, her face flushed with indignation. "This is outrageous, Gerald. You can't seriously be." "Sit down, Margaret," Gerald's voice thundered, carrying the weight of a lifetime of authority. Margaret froze, then slowly lowered herself back into her seat. Gerald turned to me, his face unreadable, but his eyes, sharp and knowing, met mine. You've built all of this in just 3 years. Yes, I said, my voice firm, while my children were busy excluding me from meetings and protecting their own interests. A slow, genuine smile spread across Gerald's weathered face, the first real smile I'd seen from him. I hadn't seen him smile like that in years. Well done, Father, Margaret protested, but Gerald raised a hand, silencing her. I've watched you all slowly destroy everything I built because you were too proud to admit when you needed help, too convinced that being born a Sullivan automatically qualified you to run a modern shipping company. He turned to me, his eyes filled with a new respect. Meanwhile, the one person who could have helped us was sitting right here, being told she wasn't family enough. Thomas reached for my hand under the table, but I pulled away. The offer expires tomorrow at noon, I said, rising from my seat. If you accept, we'll begin restructuring immediately. If you refuse, I shrugged. Well, I hear bankruptcy court can be unpleasant this time of year. I walked to the door but stopped just before leaving. Oh, and one more thing, I added, turning back toward them. If you accept, the first change will be ending the family-only policy for meetings. Merit, not birth, will determine who sits at this table. The next morning, I arrived at my office to find Thomas waiting outside. How long? He asked as I unlocked the door. How long what? How long have you been planning this? I paused for a moment as I made coffee. I wasn't at first. I just wanted to build something of my own, especially after your family made it clear I wasn't welcome in theirs. I handed him a cup, but when I saw how successful Phoenix Logistics was becoming, while Sullivan Industries continued to decline, well, let's just say opportunity knocked. You could have told me, like you told me about all those family meetings, all those decisions that affect our future. I sat down at my desk. You made your choice, Thomas. You chose your family's traditions over your wife's abilities. Now, I've made mine. He stared at his coffee cup. I'm sorry. I know, I said softly, and I did know. Thomas wasn't a bad person, he just hadn't learned to stand up to his family. But sorry wasn't enough anymore. Things had to change, and if they didn't accept the offer, then Phoenix Logistics would keep growing, Avalon Partners would find other investments, and Sullivan Industries would become just another cautionary tale about family businesses that couldn't adapt. My phone buzzed, a message from Gerald Sullivan's private number. The board has voted. We accept your terms. When can you start? I showed Thomas the message. Looks like you've got a new boss. What about us? He asked quietly. That depends, I replied, locking eyes with him. Are you ready to see me as more than just your wife? To treat me as an equal partner, not just in marriage, but in business? He nodded slowly. I think I'm starting to. The restructuring of Sullivan Industries was exactly as challenging as I'd expected. Margaret resigned rather than work under my leadership. Peter and James initially resisted every change, but when the first quarter results showed a 15% increase in profits, they became more cooperative. Thomas surprised me. Free from his family's shadow, he proved to be an innovative thinker and a strong ally in modernizing the company. Our marriage, which had been strained for so long by his family's dynamics, began to heal as we worked together as true partners. 1 year later, I sat in a Sullivan Industries conference room, now modernized with state-of-the-art technology, leading the monthly strategy meeting. Around the table sat a mix of Sullivan family members and outside executives, all chosen for their skills rather than their last names. Quarterly results are in, I announced. The Asia-Pacific division shows 40% growth, European expansion is ahead of schedule, and our technology platform has been rated top in the industry. Old Gerald, who'd stayed on as an advisor, rose from his seat near the door. Well done, Kate, you've done what I always hoped my children would do, made Sullivan Industries better than it was before. No, I corrected him gently, we did it together, as a real family business should work. After the meeting, Thomas found me in my office. Mother called today, he said. She's thinking of coming back, maybe doing some consulting work. I smiled. Tell her she's welcome to apply through HR, like everyone else. She won't like that. No, I agreed, but she'll respect it, and that's more important. Looking out my office window at the city skyline, I thought about the journey that had brought me here, from excluded outsider to company savior, from underestimated wife to respected CEO. You know what the best part is? I said to Thomas. What's that? Now, When someone says family business, they're talking about something we built together, not just a name we inherited. He kissed my cheek. Speaking of family, have you thought more about what we discussed? I rested a hand on my still flat stomach, smiling. Yes, and this time, our child will never have to worry about being family enough for anyone.